Pictures of pop stars Beyonce and her husband Jay Z vacationing in communist Cuba. They're stirring some controversy here in the United States. Now, two Republican lawmakers are demanding to know how they got there. Our national political correspondent Jim Acosta is walking into the Situation Room. He's got some answers for us. What are you learning?
I wish we had all the answers. We don't know exactly how they got there. But, Wolf, it's important to note, for years, Cuba was the forbidden fruit for American travelers. But more Americans are getting a chance to taste that fruit. As Beyonce's trip to the island just demonstrated, it's becoming so easy, even one of the world's biggest pop stars can do it. When pop star Beyonce and husband Jay Z celebrated their wedding anniversary by roaming the streets of Old Havana last week, they made waves all the way back in Miami, where Cuban-American politicians went ballistic. Two GOP members of Congress fired off a letter to the Treasury Department, questioning whether the couple violated restrictions on U.S. travel to the island. These restrictions are in place, they wrote, because the Cuban dictatorship is one of 4 U.S. designated state sponsors of terrorism with one of the world's most egregious human rights records. But Reuters News Service reports Beyonce's vacation was licensed as a cultural exchange, just the kind of trip the president had in mind when he opened up travel to Cuba 2 years ago.
It is certainly the case that under this administration we have eased the ability to travel to Cuba for those purposes.
That has sent thousands of Americans to tour providers that are licensed to arrange cultural trips to Cuba.
And the thing that makes people so fascinated when they travel to Cuba is how warm and friendly the people are to Americans. And I think this portends a great future between the two countries.
Relaxed travel restrictions have also allowed more Cuban Americans to visit relatives on the island, as this reporter found while on assignment in Cuba 4 years ago. But because of the half-century-old embargo on Cuba, Americans still have to ask the government for permission first, despite bipartisan objections in Congress. GOP Senator Jeff Flake tweeted, "So Beyonce and Jay Z are in Cuba? Fine by me. Every American should have the right to travel there." House Democrat Kathy Castor is also a critic.
I think it's time to try something different and end the embargo and lift these travel restrictions.
But conservative Cuban Americans say travel to Cuba only props up the Castro government, which is still holding an American, Alan Gross, in prison. Cuban blogger Yoni Sanchez just visited the U.S., where she said people on the island lack basic freedoms.
El miedo.
Fear, 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 she told a crowd in Miami last week. It gets to a point where they can't instill any more fear in you. It's estimated that thousands of Americans travel to Cuba every year, but an exact number is hard to come by. The Treasury Department, which grants these licenses for travel to Cuba, still won't reveal exactly how many Americans are going to the island. And we should point out a prominent Cuban-American politician, Marco Rubio, tweeted out his note of protest to Jay Z earlier today, referring to Jay Z's song 99 Problems. He tweeted with the hashtag 99 Problems and Dictators Are One. So the Cuban-American community, at least the conservative Cuban-American community, Wolf, not very pleased with Beyonce's trip down there.
Well, the administration, the Treasury Department, should presumably be giving some answers to these two U.S. lawmakers on how this whole trip was approved and all of that, right?
That's right. I checked in with Ileana Ross-Leightonen's office. They said as of right now they have not received any word from the Treasury Department, so they're not exactly clear where that one report is coming out that this trip was licensed. But, Wolf, I was on the phone earlier this afternoon with a company that arranges these trips. It is very easy to do this now. People just don't understand this. You go to a tour operator like the one we talked to earlier today, fill out the paperwork. They'll fill out the paperwork for you in many cases. All you have to do is pledge to visit the cultural and educational sites during your trip, and you can go. You're in.
Let me shift gears with you quickly and talk about guns right now. This could be a critically important week.